morning, College Station. This is Pam Marvin. I'll be your host, filling in for the very talented Megan Silas, who is out this week. But later in the show, my guest will be Monica Mize, and we will be discussing having your best Lent ever. So if you'd like to call in with any types of comments or otherwise suggestions about the Lent you're going to have or new and fresh ideas, we'd love to hear from you today. The number to call is 855-683-7332. But if you prefer to text your questions, you can call text 979-255-2633 if you'd like to text a question or maybe a suggestion. Hoping to hear from you. Give us your best ideas. It has been real successful for you in your Lenten times. And we'd love to hear that you would call in. Or also, I want to remind everybody that KEDC always and often would like to hear from you, especially if you have a ministry that would like to advertise on air or simply to be acknowledged during this segment of Red Sea Roundup. You can email roundup@redsearadio.org. That's roundup at REDC radio.org. So I want to go ahead and talk really briefly about this men's conference that's going on in the diocese. It's the 2015 third annual men's conference, Saturday the 21st at 9 a.m. at St. William's Church in Round Rock. The tickets are on sale for $39 at CatholicArmorofGod.com. This conference aims to encourage and embolden men to deepen their relationship with Christ, their family, and the church, and their community by living their faith every day. The keynote speakers are Jesse Romero and Charlie, I'm not sure I'll get this one right, but Shalom. Okay, I don't know if you've heard Jesse Romero, but boy, he gets me on fire every time I hear him talking on the radio. I heard him say the other day, I've got a man crush on Christ. So all you gentlemen, if you were interested in getting on fire and serving Christ in that way, head on over to St. William's in Round Rock. Again, that's going to be when this Saturday at 9 a.m. in St. Williams. Again, the conference is sponsored by the Central Texas Fellowship of Catholic Men and the Knights of Columbus. Well, I want to talk about other things that are coming around right around the corner. Let's talk about this Friday night. We've got the Married Couples Night, Friday, February the 20th. Treat yourselves to a fun night with other married couples to enrich your marriage vocation at St. Mary's Catholic Center here, right in room 201, from 6 to 9:30 p.m. For more details, please, or to RSVP, contact Robin at met@aggiecatholic.org. That's met@aggiecatholic.org. Hey, and another really cool thing I heard is advertised here on KEDC quite frequently. Our own Father Ryan is heading up the Frashati 2015. A wilderness pilgrimage for young adults. And that's going to be over spring break, it looks like, from March 13th through the 18th. Father Ryan will be taking framework on a pilgrimage to Ruidosa, New Mexico. That's a beautiful area, folks, if you've never been over there. New Mexico, most of New Mexico is pretty beautiful, except for maybe the southern part. Anyway, it's a wonderful chance to escape, be with friends, and experience God in nature and the sacraments. I tell you what, having Mass outdoors is one of my dreams. I've never experienced that. I'm a big nature gal, so I think this is awesome that Father Ryan is doing this Frashati wilderness pilgrimage. I encouraged my daughter Mary to go on it, but you know what? She gets to go to Guatemala, so maybe she'll catch Frashati next year. Okay, they're going to be staying in 2 large cabins Sleeping bags are not provided, so they're going to need to bring that. Air mattresses are recommended. And please see the parish website. That's the St. Joseph Parish website, or www.frameworkbcs.com for more details. So again, young adults, if you're interested in being out in the wilderness on this pilgrimage, having Mass outdoors with Father Ryan, that is going to be the place to go. It's also set, the cost is $170 for early sign up, and will go up to $200 2 weeks before the trip. So if you want to get on the wagon for that one, please go to their website or contact the St. Joseph Parish office. Okay, I'm going to swing it over to St. Anthony's. Now, when I did the Catholic Community Showcase, I had no idea this was going on in our community. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing they do. It's the Meals on Wheels. Now, that is in January, St. Anthony Meals on Wheels Ministry prepared and cooked and delivered 95 meals to our neighbors in need. Folks, this is just really an incredible thing that St. Anthony's does. I really just tip my hat to them. They know how to feed people. Well, their next meal will be this Saturday, February 21st. So if you'd like to go out and help them to cook it up, you may do so. And you should contact Regina South at southr@prodigy.net, or you can just call Regina at 589-3632. Also, Dennis, how are you today?
In a bit of panic.
Oh, no. What's going on?
No, it's just technical stuff. So we're trying to get everything going. So hopefully everything has been pretty smooth on the broadcast end, but leading up to it's been a virtual panic.
I know, that stress, the details,
yeah, it's been kind of
right?
crazy. Yeah, but we did get connected by the grace of God and Pam Marvin's prayers.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I do. I do know because, yeah, it happened. So things are going very well. Had a pretty busy weekend. How about you?
Oh, I had such a great night Saturday night.
Yeah, tell us how it went.
It was great. We had an overwhelming response to the Valentine dance. We had over 220 people show up.
That's an amazing... I assume that was all in couples, so that's 110 couples, basically?
Basically. We were packed.
That's a lot of people.
The pact was packed, and it had the most awesome decorations, thanks to the Family Life Committee, who's over there. Now it's a new committee. We have a Thomas Aquinas. What I thought was really cool is most of the committee are husband and wife teams.
Oh,
so
that
work. Was really neat. So I was really impressed with everything they got together and they did. And we had a wonderful catered meal that the Family Life Committee actually served us as we went through the line. It went very smoothly. You feed that many people, you always kind of worry. Yeah. But the highlight of the night for me was actually getting to watch Deacon Frank Ashley and Janice cutting a rug. Dennis, they can cut a rug.
I did not know that guy could
Deacon
dance.
Frank. And my husband, too. I probably was the envy of all the women because my husband likes to dance actually more than I do. And I love to dance.
Yeah.
He was dragging me up on that stage. The dance floor constantly.
Fun. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if my endurance would have lasted too long. I can't quite two-step as long as I used to.
My feet were so hurting the next day. We would go to Mass. I'm like, don't walk as fast, kids. Mom's feet are worn out.
That's pretty funny. That's great. Great weekend.
I hear that, you had a little something to do too this weekend.
Oh my gosh. I had a very, very busy weekend. It started off, we dropped Anthony, my seminarian son, had just came in from Dallas to help out with the On My Way retreat, which was an incredible collaborative event between 4 parishes in our area. It was between St. Anthony, St. Joseph's, St. Mary's in Caldwell, and St. Thomas Aquinas. And they had over 50 retreaters went out to Camp Allen this weekend, including 2 of my sons, and just had an incredible time. I dropped the kids off and then half jokingly told John Valentino, if you need me, just let me know. He's like, because we have a van that will fit 15 people. And so, if you need my van, he's like, well, if something happens with the bus, we'll let you know. And I kind of laughed and he didn't. And I was like, oh, okay. Something happened with the bus. It did. No. And so I was called in an emergency. I was actually responding to the studio to help them fix the phone lines for their Friday evening talk show. And so I went from one emergency to another and got texted that the bus has been stranded on Highway 6. And so we went to the rescue and helped bring about maybe a third of the kids that were there, not quite a third, to the retreat. So it was nice to get to Camp Allen, drop them off, come back home. And then we went to Aggie Land Saturday with my oldest daughter. That's really nice. And so we got to watch the Aggie band and learn a lot about her prospective major. And sat through class, which wasn't necessarily fun, but it was very informative for her and for us. And so we did a lot of walking, got a lot of sun, and then turned around, went to pick up the kids on Sunday morning because they needed a ride back from the retreat. Then we went to see my in-laws as soon as we got back home.
You did have a busy one.
Yeah, we went to Allen and back, so past Plano and back, and got back last night around 11
Now I want to plug this retreat again because this was a CCFM function, was it not?
No, it actually was not.
No.
It was maybe the original ideas and some things were in collaboration with CCFM.
Yes.
CCFM has a presence at St. Anthony's, at St. Joseph's, and at St. Mary's. But those youth ministers that are there, it was a high school retreat.
High school.
And CCFM is very involved in a lot of the middle school programs. And so some of the youth ministers from CCFM did help out and volunteer, which is a blessing. But yeah, the youth ministers really worked hard together and put this together, which was just an incredible collaborative event. And so they're looking for more and more students to be involved in this. And I was there for the closing, and I heard them say, would you want to do this again some other time? And resoundingly, the kids were just saying yes.
Well, Dennis, I really see this as really the future of the way the church is going as far as being collaborative in efforts across communities. And to be honest, I think that we're on the forefront in this area. A lot of ways we really are. So just keep the prayers going, keep strong, keep moving forward and following what the Holy Spirit wants for us.
Indeed. And as Pam mentioned, we do have phone lines that are available, believe it or not, finally.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we could get two people on the phone at the same time, but that will be actually in the future. We'll be able to get 6 people on the line at the same time. So
wonderful.
But that will take a miracle of God. I had to step out to the control room, and so I wanted to see how far you had gotten around the parishes.
Well, I've got most everything and a couple things left, but if you do want to call in and talk about Lent and having your best Lent ever, please call us at 855-683-7332. And I only have two more spots, really.
Why don't you hit those spots?
Okay. One really is a spot. It's the Rosary The Rosary Guild is recruiting new members. Is God calling you to try your hand at making rosaries and scapulars or caring for altar linens? Or perhaps selling beautiful Catholic items to strengthen the faith of others? The Our Lady of Mount Carmel Rosary Guild at St. Joseph Church is recruiting members to work in the 5 apostolates. Now, you do not have to necessarily be a member of St. Joseph Catholic Church to be a part of this. The mission rosaries are distributed locally and nationally. Brown scapulars distributed widely to the military. And they also have gift shop items as well. And of course, they care for the altar linens of both St. Joseph and Christ the Good Shepherd. The Rosary Guild is a multi-parish group that provides opportunities to foster the spiritual life of its members while meeting the needs of the greater community through their 5 apostolates. Coordinators of each apostolate will help you get acquainted with the team and with the work. We work right here and now. For more information, contact Martha Opersteny, Rosary Guild President, at mopersteny@gmail.com. That's 979-324-8024. You know what? I would love to see these brown scapulars that they make. I don't think I've ever seen those. Have you?
I have. There are specific ones from that group or just a brown scapular in general?
No. From this group that they make, the ones that they hand make.
I can't say that I do. I might have because, maybe
I'm very
people
interested.
I know are wearing them, but I just don't know it.
Well, I would love to see a homemade one and what that looks like because that really fascinates me. I'd love that.
I'm sure they're very nice and very sturdy. So I've seen some of the fall apart in your hand kinds.
Yeah, I have one of those.
I'm sure these do not.
My Jesus fell off of mine.
Oh, no.
Now I can't find him. It's kind of sad. Well, here's one last thing that I want to talk about that I found buried deep within a bulletin somewhere, but this is close to my heart. I love this stuff. On Thursday, February the 26th at 6 p.m., George Weigel will present St. John Paul II, Lessons for Statesmen, Mr. Weigel is the author of The Witness to Hope, The Life of John Paul II, and was the late pontiff's official biographer. If you would like to attend this presentation, please RSVP to 979-845-6510. Now, this, I believe, is out at the Annenberg at the Presidential Center.
It is.
So you can find out and go see George live. What a great thing he's doing as far as being in the media and being very authentically Catholic. I'm pretty excited about that.
I have an announcement.
Oh.
Did you mention anything about the Catholic Armor of God Men's Conference?
I did.
Okay, good.
Did you want to say it?
Well,
plug
I
in?
do want to mention that I'm going to be out there to some capacity doing broadcasting live from the breaks and possibly getting an exclusive interview with Mr. Jesse Romero or maybe Charlie Osterman. So, we're hoping to broadcast some for the breaks, interrupt regular programming just for a little bit to give people a little bit of a taste of what's going on in our diocese and some of the great things that are going on. We also, 2 weeks later, will be in Austin broadcasting the bishop's ordination for Bishop-elect Danny Garcia.
Oh.
And so listen
when is
for
that, Dennis?
That will be on March 3rd at 2 p.m., a Tuesday afternoon. So we're going to gather some great interviews. We were able to broadcast Bishop Mike Siss's interview from San Angelo. So we have actually a little bit of experience doing this. So we're going to grab some folks from the audience and some dignitaries, and who knows what kind of surprises Darby will bring me to the interview table, but it's going to be great, and we're going to broadcast that live.
That's exciting. That is very exciting.
It is exciting. So I'm glad you mentioned something about the Armor of God conference, because I will be going bright and early to set up this next Saturday, as a matter of fact.
Well, I'm just a big fan of Jesse Romero. When I hear him on Red Sea, he is one of the most contagious speakers. His enthusiasm is so contagious that I think I even sit a little taller in my car whenever I listen to him. Because go, Jesse.
He's an amazing man.
He is. Thanks be to God.
Very evangelical. I do have one other thing, too, that we did this weekend that I thought would be interesting to folks. One of the men that helped set up Red Sea Catholic Radio, his name is Doug Pearson. And he has done an amazing job at setting Catholic radio stations, not only for Guadalupe Radio, where he's the operations director, but all over the nation for other stations, and willing and able to give anybody help at any time, at any cost to his personal time. So one of the men I admire most on this planet is Doug Pearson. He, about 6 months ago, was given the news he has stage 4 esophageal cancer. But through many, many prayers, his first round of chemo shrunk that cancer down to 85%.
Shrunk at 85%.
Yes, to 15%. There is no cure for what he has. There's only a longer prognosis of being able to live. And so the cancer is not growing. He did recently, through a novena of many of his friends and family, got accepted to go to Lourdes with the Knights of Malta. So he and his wife, and we were blessed to see him briefly for about 10 minutes as we dropped Anthony off. He lives in that area, and he is making some handmade rosaries for our family. And so we're going to continue. Yeah, so keep Doug Pearson in your prayers. Sure just a real giant in the Catholic radio field across our entire nation. So Doug Pearson of Guadalupe Radio, but very much Red Sea Catholic Radio would not have been built without his assistance. So
that's
wanted
wonderful.
to ask
Doug
people
will
to pray
keep
for
you
him.
in my prayers, our
Indeed.
prayers for sure. Also, before we go on to the next to our break, I wanted to just give you a couple of words of what Pope Francis has said, some reflections on this Lent. One of the things that stuck out to me most is he says he wants the church to become present, an island of mercy in the midst of the sea of indifference. And I think, folks, in our culture that is so prevalent, where people, especially in this technological age, have their faces on their screens and have become very indifferent to the world around them. And maybe not by their own personal design, but just a slow boiling of the frog, so to speak. So let's think about that and reflect on what's it look like to be indifferent, but what's it look like not to be indifferent. He says also the way to counteract this is to pray, to help others, and recognize your need for God. These three things can be done at different levels, as a church as a whole, in your parish and communities, and individually. So think about these things that that Pope Francis has said. So someone might be discouraged because it may seem that he or she cannot change anything, but take heart. Christ has overcome the world, so we can make a difference too. But coming up here in just a few minutes, we'll be talking with Monica Mize and your best Lent ever.
And indeed, if you want to call in, we have phones that you can call in on 85 Love Red Sea 855-683-7332 to talk to us.
Well, welcome back. This is your host for the day, Pam Marvin, and I'm joined by my lovely friend, Monica Mize. Welcome, Monica.
Good morning.
Well, I was so pleasantly surprised as I'm looking through the bulletins and indeed hearing the commercials on KEDC for your best Lent ever, which you have really had a heart for. And we'll get to that a little bit more here in the show. But first of all, I want to say thank you for coming on in a pinch like this.
Well, I have been really excited about that program and just so many. And so hopefully the Brazos Valley will actually have their best Lent ever, that we will have a truly meaningful Lent and grow closer to Christ. That's the goal.
Yeah, I really believe it, because I think that there's a different air about things this year. There's with so much of Matthew Kelly's stuff saying, don't eat chocolate, don't give up chocolate this year, I beg you, that kind of thing, that there does seem to be a different air. And Pope Francis, too, not only, I read a couple of things from one of his Lenten addresses, but he's also saying, let's think more about service. What does it mean to serve Christ in this area? So I'm really excited to get to visit with you. This is kind of like, we're going to draw Dennis in when he's able to, but if his nerves are calmed down a little bit from our, you would never know it by looking at him, but we do here in the studio. You do wonders,
Just
Dennis.
look at my gray hair.
Yeah, he has more now than when he started, but we're going to be talking just in a context of like these two moms and families and in the community of what it's like to experience a Lent, what things have happened that have made it really fruitful. So if you have something to share that you felt has really produced fruit in your family, we would love to hear from you at 855-683-7332. And I'm really hoping one of my friends calls in. Hope she's out there listening. I won't say her name to put it on the spot, but hopefully she'll call in and give us her 2 cents about what she and her family have done. So with that, I want to start off with, what the Catechism says about Lent. I get real technical sometimes, but I just love the Catholic faith. I don't know if you know this, Monica, but I'm a convert. And so studying the faith has been a really big, fun thing for me. I don't know. I like, rules and the way things are written out.
Well, Scott Hahn was a convert. So many of the converts actually kind of put our cradle Catholics on our toes and make sure that we kind of continue on and continue learning. That's all about it.
It's just, there's so much richness there. It's like a shock to us. We come into it like, oh my gosh, I could learn the rest of my life. And this is so awesome.
Sure.
Well, this is just a very small snippet of what the Catechism says about seasons and days of penance. In the course of the liturgical year, Lent and each Friday in memory of the death of the Lord are intense moments of the Church's penitential practices. These times are particularly appropriate for spiritual exercises, penitential liturgies, pilgrimages as signs of penance, voluntary self-denial such as fasting and almsgiving, and fraternal sharing, so charitable and missionary works. So there is a rhythm and a cycle to the way our church believes. She's a beautiful and very inspirational mother, the church. I look forward to Lent every year. Monica, do you actually look forward to it?
I have, especially this year. We'll go into that later.
Oh, okay. Well, I love this little section about the process of conversion and repentance. It's very short, so I'll read it quickly, but I thought it was just such a beautiful way to describe. It kind of encapsulates the whole idea of penance and conversion in the story of the prodigal prodigal son. And this is described by Jesus in the parable of the prodigal son, the center of which is the merciful father, which, one priest told me once that was originally called the parable of the merciful father, and before it was known as the prodigal son. Okay. The fascination of illusory freedom, the abandonment of the father's house, the extreme misery in which the son finds himself after squandering his fortune, his deep humiliation at finding himself obliged to feed swine, and still worse, at wanting to feed on the husks of the pigs, and then his reflection on all that he had lost, his repentance and decision to declare himself guilty before his father. The journey back, and then the father's generous welcome, the father's joy. All these are characteristics of the process of conversion. The beautiful robe, the ring, the festive banquet are symbols of the new life, pure, worthy, joyful, of anyone who returns to God and to the bosom of his family, which is the church. Only the heart of Christ, who knows the depths of a father's love, could reveal to us the abyss of his mercy in so simple and a beautiful way. See, I love this. I mean, just, in layman's terms, young man says, you know what? I want my freedom. I want it all. I mean, this reminds me a little bit of Augustine, too, who says, I'm going to do whatever I want because that's really true freedom. And as a honest heart will come to know that those are really types of enslavement because sin is enslaving. And then the realization of it through, self-reflectiveness, very hard thing to do, then comes to realize such joy in the Father's love.
I feel like that happens quite often during the process of the 40 days of Lent as well.
And the rest of the year, too. Those natural built-in penances, it's like those come along whether we want them or not.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think we'll move on to the culture part, what the culture say. I think it's interesting to talk to other folks about other Protestants. Do you celebrate Lent? Well, yeah, kind of. I give up, I give up my dessert or my candy or something like that. But I did read that there's a small percentage of Protestants that actually do
I think so.
Practice.
I've met a few, and I was shocked, I think.
Yeah.
As a cradle Catholic, I never realized, I guess.
No. I'm pleased to say that my dad and my stepmother are Methodists, beautiful Methodists, and they celebrate it each year. Lent. I always call it celebrate it because to me it really is a celebration. I look forward to Lent, Monica, because I know when I start to be kind of a slacker and I'm like, I just need to make all things new. Like Jesus says, Mother, I make all things new. Well, Lent is such a kind of getting back on track time.
Sure.
What a brilliance of the Catholic Church has to say about that. Okay, so then we'll talk about the status quo. So what are the status quo things that you give up every year? Have you had some status quo things that you give up?
Well, as like I said, as cradle Catholics, I think the easy things are chocolate, dessert, sweets. I know my daughter gave up Barbies one year and just, those types of things. Yeah. And I'm not sure that she even played with those very much, and that is one of the things that, it needs to be something that's a little bit of a stretch for us to push us so that we can have the opportunity to grow closer to Christ. Yeah. And that self-denial, the time, especially, I think, to contemplate his suffering for us. Mm-hmm. And none of us likes pain or to be uncomfortable and, putting a rock in your shoe or anything like that, those funny little things are a little bit of a stretch, I think, that kind of keep us. And I guess one of the things, status quo, is our daily lives are so busy. And I have been guilty. I know everybody has been guilty of especially the first few days of Lent, especially the first Friday, where you're like, oh my gosh, I ate a hamburger and we were not supposed to. And it just, it's that reminding us, trying to remember, trying to continue to put yourself in the actual season and to remember.
Well, I have a
celebrating.
really good way. I learned this. I had the good pleasure of working in the parish office at Thomas Aquinas under Father Michael O'Connor, and I did not know. Now, many people out there probably know this now, but being the convert, this is all new to me. That actually in Europe still, and on the book, so to speak, that every Friday is a day of abstinence. Just as I read in this section from the Catechism, every day is a day. Every Friday is a day of fasting and abstinence from meat
Throughout the whole year.
Yes, but the U.S. CCB has declared it optional for Americans. So I decided those couple of years ago that, and really, I think it's kind of, I don't know if you could say this is a selfish reason for me to do it, but it was like, because I kept forgetting in Lent about the Fridays. So I thought, you know what? Well, if I do that as a penance and a sacrifice all year long, then it'll be a lot easier during Lent. And I'm happy to say that it's working out pretty well. It just doesn't feel quite right. I'm like, oh, good, I get to eat seafood today.
That is exactly what I was going to say. So many of us love seafood, so it's not a sacrifice at all for us on Fridays to go eat fish. So.
Except the sacrifice then is when we're all talking about where we'd like to go have lunch maybe or dinner that evening, and everybody's like, let's go to this great burger barn or this steakhouse. And I'm like, sure, whatever you like. You can't say anything. I mean, that's part of it, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, you got to really not say something. So that is a beautiful sacrifice to remember it. It's just such a small thing for us to do too.
I do remember my parents talking about when they were growing up that they would actually cover all of the mirrors or take them down in the house.
What?
And it's all so that none of the attention, none of your focus is on you. It is all on the Lord. And so I thought, oh gosh, that's, what could we do that would help us remember that?
That's really neat.
So I think there were a lot more practices back then that we don't have. And so it would be awesome to get kind of back to that, at least in some way.
Yeah. Speaking again about Father Michael O'Connor, I learned so much from him. But one of the things he said his aunt used to do, this is because he's an Englishman, right? She used to drink her tea without anything in it during Lent and her toast dry. I thought, I don't know if I could do that. But I also thought, what a beautiful little sacrifice that is,
right.
Just to, especially, I thought about giving up any kind of sugar in my coffee to try and start drinking it black, because I'd like to get to where I drink my coffee black, but it's so hard. I don't know if I can do that.
Well, you had mentioned the verse from the Catechism, and I have really been thinking this Lent of concentrating on the agony in the garden when the apostles are with the Lord, a few of them at least, and he asked them to stay awake. It's Matthew 26, and he asked them to stay awake, and they fall asleep. And how often that's so much like us. And I guess this Lent, I think when I fail, I'm going to be hearing the Lord say, so you could not keep watch with me 1 hour, and that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And that's what I've really been contemplating as well. So
Yes.
I'm really hoping that his mercy, it will still be there. And that we are human. And I've heard stories so often, from Lent after Lent, we've heard of, people that stay up till 12:01 Friday night, actually Saturday morning, so that they can eat something because they've been starving all day. They've been, abstaining or fasting. And so they wait until 12:01.
Is it on Good Friday that you're referring to?
Technically, not just Good Friday, but the Fridays.
Oh, the Fridays.
If they're trying to, or Good Friday, either one. But some people, that's kind of what they do, is prefer not to.
Which really is a
eat so much.
question I have. If we have a deacon, priest, or someone that's really knowledgeable about when does Lent actually end? Does it end with the Triduum? Does it end with Easter Sunday? That's always the big question in my house. I'm not really sure. I would think liturgically it would end with the Triduum, but it seems kind of strange to give up your stuff when the Triduum starts. Dennis, do you have thoughts on that?
I believe you're right. I believe it does end with the Triduum.
Does it? But it still feels like kind of like cheating when you go in. You know?
But if you know that both of us are wrong, call us at 85 Love Red Seed, 855-683-7332. Our phone lines are working finally. So, yeah, we'd love to hear more about your Lent stories and your family traditions and things that y'all do.
Absolutely. So we are going to talk about, this is what makes this is so exciting for us this year. I am just over the top about new ways to celebrate Lent. I'm looking forward to see what Matthew Kelly does have. And this was kind of the impetus behind the show today was Matthew Kelly said, let's have your best Lent ever. So I said, okay, Matthew, we're going to join you. So tell us what you know so far about what he's up to with the Dynamic Catholic.
Well, I think this came about on Facebook or emails or whatever, and most of us have become familiar with him because he is a best-selling author that he wrote Rediscovering Catholicism, which is a beautiful book and really taught me so many things. So I encourage you, most of you probably have that. I know several of the churches had given that out a year or so ago. He came to speak to St. Joseph's and St. Anthony's. It was a group effort, I believe. But he does encourage us to do something rather than, and I think the church has been encouraging us to do something rather than just give something up. It is wonderful to have that self-denial and to kind of show the Lord how much we love him so much that we would deny certain things from ourselves. But to actually try to do something to get closer to him, I believe is probably what most people are encouraging, I believe. So Matthew Kelly has come up with his Best Lent Ever program, and it is free. All you have to do is go to bestlentever.com and sign up for that email program, and you will receive daily little videos or paragraphs, inspirational readings, that sort of thing, each day to help you become what he calls, it's one of his big things, is the best Lent ever. The best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And basically that's God's version that he has created us all to be towards the end, after we have continued to learn and to grow, and it's a long process.
I tell you what, that phrase now is used so very often, and I think in a very beautiful way, because especially as a parent and a spouse,
right?
I think God calls us to look at our spouses and our children and see the way God created them without their flaws, right?
Right.
The original way, like say before the fall, and help them to encourage them to become that best version. Because as parents and spouses, we can see that in them, and it's so exciting and it's so beautiful. And I encourage you folks, especially parents, to tell your children that part of them. You know what I see in you? The part that's so best about you is your whatever it is, your creativity, your thoughtfulness, your gentleness. You know, if you have I have a couple of children actually that have very strong wills. And so oftentimes that can be seen as a negative. But I really try and tell my kids that God gave you that strong opinion for a reason, and he wants you to use it for his good.
Certainly.
You know, because one of my favorite John Paul II sayings is the definition of a saint is a Christian with a backbone. How about that? I love that.
That self-will that you're talking about, that strong will encourage them to stand up for what they believe when no one else will.
That's absolutely right. I love that. Well, you want to tell us any more about Matthew and what else? Is that the crux of it? You can go and sign up for the daily emails.
Exactly. So, and it's very, very simple. I think it's been going around Facebook, or if you just log on to bestlentever.com, it's very easy to sign up, and it'll be every day. It couldn't be more easier, and that is a benefit of technology, where so many people are giving up social media or technology for Lent. This is a way to use that to continue our growth.
Well, I do want to talk about that for a second, because if you talk to youth ministers and me as a parent, I realize I only have one teenager right now. That's kind of weird. My others have aged out. But technology and the draw of technology has become really overwhelming in our society right now. It's really hurting relationships, I think, Monica. So I do encourage people to really look, and this is myself included. My almost 21-year-old fusses at me all the time because if I hear my phone ding and it's a text message, because I don't get them very often, folks, really. So I'm like, ding, oh, someone's texting me. Who is that? I get so easily distracted. And she really gets offended that, and I think she's right, that she should be offended that I would be distracted by my phone when I have my beautiful daughter sitting, who doesn't live at home anymore.
Right.
And I'm like wanting to read my text message while she's sitting across the table having a nice conversation. So I know that's just as a mom view, but when you have kids, they can be very, very much distracted. You see them sitting on the couch. You see them at the dinner table. We have rules about the dinner table.
Sure.
Luckily, I don't have my younger children don't have cell phones yet. So I don't know. The technology is a really good thing to think about giving up. But what's a good way, Dennis? You have teenagers now. I mean,
well, I want to interject what you said. Luckily, they don't have. I think they don't have it for design. That's your parental decision. So kudos on you on that. So some of the things that we do for Lent, and I was kind of drawing a blank, like, what do? We do nothing. And I'm like, no, we do something. We certainly, and what we do, I know specifically, we go to the Stations of the Cross every Friday at St. Anthony's. And we actually have our own family Stations of the Cross each night. So every night we include that into our prayers. The family Bible that was given to us by my parents when we got married. And yes, that Bible is falling apart. Let me tell you, it's got in the middle a reflection on Stations of the Cross, and it's something that's actually a shorter version. They actually do a version at St. Anthony's where we go. That's Reflections by Fulton Sheen, and they're much more in depth and much more just more of a storytelling. But this has a quick reflection on each one, and so we can actually say that as a family each night, and we do that, and to the point where the kids have gotten it to be memorized. I mean, I can't memorize
awesome.
the things that they memorize. It's amazing, but we actually can go through that, and keeps our mind on the cross throughout the Lent. And we always attend the Easter Triduum services for sure. And last year we actually started going. We went for the first time because we were able to go to the live Stations of the Cross that St. Anthony's
wonderful.
I love that.
and we walked through the streets and culminated there with the crucifixion scene back at St. Anthony's. And so I would encourage people to do that type of thing with their families. Keep it in prayer, but maybe change your prayer routine to be more of one that reflects upon this time of year, this Lenten season.
Right. I think that the live Stations of the Cross, if you've not experienced this with your family, folks, I really encourage you to do that this year. I guess I didn't go this last year, but the year before I did, and took my daughter, who at the time was 10 years old, and it had a very, very big impact to see so visually kind of what happens. It's just a very impact on children who need that visual kind of imagery to see.
And they're going through the neighborhood right around St. Anthony's. And so they actually go by houses, and dogs are barking, and kids come out and look at their front porch, and people come out and, reverently, are quiet during that time and watch us go by. And so
it is certainly a witness to others, and they join in from their home, and it's beautiful to see. I do remember as a youth helping to put that on, and then
really,
yes, and then as a mother, my children have always loved that. That's one of their favorite ways to stay at the Stations of the Cross because of obvious reasons that they really understand. It's done very, very well. The youth always do a really beautiful job.
It really is.
Well, other than working with the family, generally I'm pretty bad at Lent. I remember listening to Father Ryan's last show as we were doing that here in the studio, and he was talking about some of the things over the last 2 or 3 Lents that he's done. And I think his one example is that not hitting the snooze bar, and he's just an abysmal failure, and that's his quote at that Lent. But even in our failures, we keep trying even the next day.
Sure.
So,
well, Dennis, it's interesting you say that, because I read something so beautiful the other day that Christ does not count our failures. He looks at our perseverance.
Yeah. And
So
our
this
efforts
Lent,
along the way.
that's right. So do you give up easy? Oh, well, I failed once, then I'm just not going to try the rest. Or do you persevere? Because remember, it's not the failures that Christ counts, but just your desire and your perseverance to be the best version of yourself, to overcome whatever it is, the bad habits that you might have.
Yeah,
So-
but also do something. Go to daily mass
Right.
more often. Go to confession more often. Do the good things that you aren't able to do possibly during the year. And that itself is a sacrifice to be able to take the time out and do those types of things. So I'm contemplating actually getting up and doing some morning walks early. And many of you that are exercisers go, oh, that's not a sacrifice. Well, trust me.
Goodness, it is.
I am not a morning person, and that would be an ultimate sacrifice. So, but not only just to go on a walk to lose weight and to be better in shape, but also to pray during that time. Maybe have some conversation with my wife or daughter who might come with me. Some of those types of things. And so, that's something I'm thinking about doing. It just because as we get older, we lose energy, and I'm losing energy to keep up with this radio thing. And so hopefully that would bear spiritual fruit as well as,
Sure does.
in myself as well as for others.
I know countless numbers of people who actually say their rosary now when they jog or run
Yeah.
or walk.
It's a great time to do so.
If you don't mind, let me ask real quick, if you could have anybody out there that's listening that wants to interject something they do for their family or with their family or by yourself for Lent. Call 85 Love Red Sea, 855-683-7332. That's 85 Love Red Sea. That's the letter C. That's a toll-free call.
Okay, well, I want to talk about just one or two other things that are new things that we talked about, Monica, before that you can do. And then we're going to get into the creative ways to celebrate. And there's a lot of stuff there. So go ahead, Monica. You want to tell them about the other
I
things?
can. Many of our listeners will know Father Robert Barron. I believe he was the founder of Word on Fire Catholic Ministries.
Right.
And a lot of us have followed his Advent reflections that got emailed to us, but he also has Lent. So it's free daily reflections emailed from Ash Wednesday, which is this Wednesday, through Easter Sunday. And it's spiritual reflections, some video, both in English and in Spanish for all of our Spanish listeners as well. So spread the word. You can sign up at lentreflections.com. So it's very easy to remember, lentreflections.com, both in English and Spanish. It's he's got, a button for each, and so it's very easy just to click on whichever you would prefer. And it comes, again, the technology is such a blessing in many ways. So it can be a curse and it can be a blessing. So we're choosing to use it in positive
That's like
ways.
so many things in this life, folks. Overdone, a glass of wine can be healthy for you. 10 in a night, not so much. No, not so much.
Exactly. And the other thing that I know about, and this is not an exhaustive list, so please check with your local church, call around, even, Google some of the Catholic things and find out. But St. Mary's here in Aggieland has their special Jesus is Lord, and it is for all Aggies. It's held here at St. Mary's. It is a free program to help you make Lent awesome, and it will be held every Monday of Lent at 7:30.
It actually started last night, and if you don't follow the Aggie Catholic here on Instagram, I can't remember the exact Aggie Catholic Center, I believe, on Instagram. It was a packed house last night. It was their first
terrific.
one. Yeah.
It was orientation, I believe.
I guess. I know my Mary went to it, and when I saw the pictures, I was just stunned at it being so packed like it was over there.
I think they said they had over 500 people.
500.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, that's
Very
amazing.
exciting.
So we live in a very special place, folks. We really do.
And that website to get information is you can Google just St. Mary's Catholic Church or www.aggiecatholic.org/Jesus is Lord. And that'll get you get the information for that program. So,
Excellent.
So whatever age, I think there's something for all of us.
Okay, now
that
is
area.
my favorite part. We're going to start talking about really different, out there kind of things to do for Lent. I have one that I'm going to give a shot. Monica, do you have something that you want to try?
Oh, you go first.
Let me go first. Okay. As I was kind of alluding to earlier, and I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm going to put it in the Holy Spirit's hand. I want to give up being distracted.
Ooh.
Seriously, I want to really focus on focusing because I'm so easily distracted. Oh, there's a bird. The other day, and what really made the impression is I love people. And so I get really distracted when someone I love walks in the room, and I could be talking to you straight up, right face to face, and someone walks in. I'm like, oh, hey. And I'm interrupting the whole conversation. It's the rudest thing ever. So I'm going to really focus on people. And
the present?
Yes, being fully present and not being distracted like that. And with prayer too, because, I think that what we need to do is be able, it's not that we need to eliminate all our distractions so we can pray. It's to learn to adapt to the distractions and pray through them.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I think that's what we have to do. Just being a mom, that's
especially for prayer. I know adoration. So many people do adoration, and it is very challenging. It's amazing how often I have to kind of refocus.
Yeah.
You just really have to bring yourself back.
Yeah.
So,
do you have one? Go ahead. Your turn.
well, I have. I guess it's similar to what Dennis had mentioned was, and it's because of the visual. I feel like we as humans, especially children, are very visual. And so I think it's helpful, and I've kind of found, to have some sort of a display at your home.
Ooh.
The church always gives us whatever color
That's
of the
so
season and a
true.
banner, but to incorporate that color in your home.
I love that.
What I was going to tell you is I found a beautiful nun on Etsy. She has a paint shop on Etsy, and she paints these beautiful pictures of Jesus and all sorts of other things. She's very talented, but I had requested her to paint a picture of our Lord with the crown of thorns, so that I could use it this Lent. So it's already on my mantle.
Aren't you smart?
And so I'm very excited. I have been waiting for Lent to arrive.
Excellent.
But just something that will be different in your home, so that when you walk by every time, you will be kind of a consistent reminder. You'll be reminded that it's this special time, and what have I done?
I love that.
Especially just kind of recheck in the last half of the day.
I'm going to go home.
What would you do? What have you
and
done?
put my purple tablecloth on the table. That's what I'm going to do.
That's great.
Remind everybody it's purple. Lent.
Exactly. I have a purple swag to put on the mantle. I haven't done that yet.
Here, I have another challenge for some people. A good friend of mine, Sharon, did this a few years ago, which I thought was very clever. It's along the line of giving up distraction. She gave up rushing or hurrying.
Ooh.
How about that?
Now, I thought that was one of my ideas, just to arrive early at Mass, which would be a change.
That is, okay. Well, I think that devil is in haste.
Yes.
When we're hasty about decisions, we're hasty in what we're doing. I think he gets in there. He can really bring some havoc. So if we slow down and be more thoughtful and prudent about what we're doing, that's more time for God in there.
Exactly. And we can hear him, actually, when we're quiet and not rushed and running around.
Okay, I have another phrase that I'm going to put on the refrigerator this year. I don't know what it looks like exactly, but this is what it says. Practice self-forgetfulness.
Self-forgetfulness.
Right. Don't be self-centered, basically.
Right.
So what does that mean to practice self-forgetfulness? Well, for me, one way to do that is speak less and listen more.
Very good.
I think that's one way I'm going to practice self-forgetfulness, because sometimes I think I have something interesting to say and I really don't. And I know I really don't, but I get too hasty, right?
And you could pray for only others, not necessarily pray for your own intentions.
Wow, Monica.
But pray for others.
Well, when I called Monica and asked her to be on the show, I said, Monica, you're going to be so shocked how fast the show goes by. It's over. Can you believe that? We had such a good time. I know
that
it's
was fast.
crazy. It was. We are so glad that you could join us, and we really pray that you will have your very best Lent ever. Pray about it. Enjoy everything there is. Look at your church bulletins to know what's going on around your parish, and take advantage of all the great Bible studies, the fish fries, the Stations of the Cross. Everywhere has it. But I want to thank you again for tuning in. And Megan will be back next week speaking with Mike Beauvais on the epistles. For now, Dennis, Monica, and I are wishing you the best Lent ever and praying for lasting change in your heart this season. So just remember, when choosing between the values of heaven and the world, always round up.